So I've seen Borat now, and there were moments where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have a good report, and then Marguerite's going to fire me, and that'll be into this podcast. However, the third act, I was laughing out loud. I mean,
what was that?
The third act, so like the last third of the movie, when after the naked fight, where they're running all over the hotel and gross.
Yes.
And then, you know, he's on the bus with the frat boys and he goes to the crazy charismatic church, all that. And I got to say, the writing of it is brilliant. The writing is brilliant.
And it's him, right? Is it him that does all the writing himself? What is his name? Sacha Baron Cohen.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
He's there's like 5 other writers, probably just people who I don't know what they helped with, but you often have another screenwriter who just helps with like kind of getting the structure of it right. But really well written. I laughed out loud a lot in the last third of it. So it went from like I was really unsure for like the first half, and then as it, you know, kept going, I was like, I get it. Like he's building this character, this caricature that's like making fun of a third world country, which at first I was just sort of like, I don't know, this kind of seems like punching down, not really into this kind of humor. But then I was like, oh, he's using this and then going out and finding like the craziest and sometimes worst parts of America and using this character to like make fun of that. And it's like, it feels, it worked better than if it hadn't been a mix of fiction and documentary. Like if it had just been a straight documentary and you'd gone out and been like, look how crazy these people are and look how crazy these people are. It's because he
sucked.
Yeah, it was like he like made himself one of them, but also like a foreigner, which is like what a lot of those people hated.
Where was he though when he asked that woman if it, I don't remember what he says, because, you know, now you've seen it and I haven't seen it for like 6 months or a year or something. I don't remember. But he asked isn't it hard to get an education when you don't have a brain or something like that? Or isn't it hard that you women have smaller brains?
He's talking to the feminists and he's like,
yeah, that's right.
He's like, you have the brains of squirrels.
Yes, I know.
It's like our leading scientist has proved this. And then he's going to Pamela Anderson's book signing. He's talking to his manager and he's like, she wrote a book. He's like, our scientist will be amazed.
I think it's the funniest part of the movie though, is when he thinks that when he's afraid of gypsies. And he goes to do they have a yard sale or whatever you call it?
It's a yard sale or garage
and
sale.
He finds a Barbie doll and he asks the woman, who shrinked this lady?
He's like, you will not shrink me, gypsy.
I know.
He's like standing there talking to her. He's like, I will look at your things now.
I know.
Like, she's like, please look at them. He's like, no, I will look at them.
I know. So, that's the funniest part, I think.
That
when he's
part
like
is amazing.
So afraid of gypsies, as he calls them.
Yeah, he's making a garage sale like the weirdest, most awkward thing ever. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. You have to give me some homework for movies to watch then.
All right. Well, I will try, and I know a little bit more about your movie taste now, so I'll try and find something that I think you will both enjoy, but that I also think is great.
Because you know, if I would have been you and I was hesitant for the first 30 minutes, I would have just shut it off. Nope.
Which you did with John Wick. I don't even know if you lasted
I did.
30. I think you lasted.
No, it was until they started drifting with the Mustang or whatever car it was. Then it was a nope.
Car chases are an instant nope for you.
Oh, an instant nope. So then I just turned it off. Although it was a Swedish actor in there, lead role, or not. What do you call it? Not lead role.
Like main supporting role. Yeah, like technically he was supporting, but he was like he was the main villain. So yeah, so many great Swedish actors. You've been educating me lately on.
Yeah, they're everywhere. We're like a virus, pop up everywhere.
Well, I mean, you have Ingmar Bergman, and now you've got so many great actors though, like Joel Kinnaman, who you don't pronounce Joel, you pronounce it Yule.
Ul.
You
pronounce every letter like very, very, very much.
You stretch it out. You're like
Ul.
Every letter here is important.
Joel Kinnaman, and we are very like this when we talk in Swedish.
I think Swedish is a little bit like Kryptonian. Like if you follow Superman, his Kryptonian name is Kal-El, like UL, Kal-El. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
we talk very like I don't know the word in English. You have a different kind of flow.
we do. Yeah.
We pronounce everything like this, And when you hear Swedish people speak in English, we as Swedes can always recognize it.
Yeah. Well, do you
Because
remember?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking of Anthony Smith when he said, I only speak one language. He was like, maybe two. I also speak hillbilly. And I was thinking about that. You have to go, next time you're in the US, go to like Arkansas, the Ozark, somewhere in the South, and they will combine like 5 words into one. Like I was floating a river in Arkansas last year. And as we're passing by the bank, there's some guys on the bank in like, cut off jean shorts and like a tank top. And there was like a bridge down the river. And he's like, y'all can go see that bridge if you want to. And yunt to is if you want to.
Yeah.
But he just says yunt to, which, he just turns into one word, if you want.
Maybe they want to save time.
They do. Yeah. But it just turns into this slur of Southern drawl. And it's kind of amazing.
That's kind of the opposite of the way I mean, the opposite of speaking Swedish.
Because you really pronounce every letter.
Yeah, we do.
And they just slur like 4 words into one word.
Sometimes or kind of often is like the English word and the Swedish word. I mean, they are kind of the same, but we just pronounce it differently. There are loads of Swedish words that, I mean, I don't know if we stole it from you or if you stole it from us.
I imagine it's probably just having like the same sort of Latin roots to the language and things like that, maybe.
Yeah, but we only just pronounce them differently.
Yeah.
So if you would just learn the pronunciation, we could do this in Swedish next week, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm amazed how many times you're like, and this word in Swedish is, and I'm like, that's almost the same. Like, it's very, very, very close.
All the time, actually, all the time. But we just pronounce it very like, because there's a certain way of speaking English that you can really hear that you're Swedish.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying not to do, which I do all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and for our listeners, you are actually listening to Heavy Leather. You're just getting some background on culture today. Movies.
Episode.
Yeah. Episode 8? Is it?
9.
Shit, I got to update my notes here. We're on episode 9. I'm always one ahead or one behind. I'm never right on. So yes. Episode 9. And we just watched a very strange card over the weekends, which had some unfortunate disqualifications. It had a lot of knockouts, but it really felt dragged down by the disqualifications, especially since this was the second card in a row. And I want to start with the nopest move of the night, which is also the nopest nickname of the night. Eric, your boy Anders, put an illegal knee upside Stewart's head.
Yes.
This was bizarre.
What to say?
What did you think when you were watching this? Because I mean, it was deja vu.
Did you notice that he was on his way to throw it like twice before he actually threw it?
So if you saw my notes, one of the main reasons I sent you my notes yesterday is because I noticed that he threw 2 illegal knees, and Herb Dean didn't see the first one. The first one happens. He threw an illegal knee at 53 seconds of round 2. And after he threw it, the commentator, Brendan Fitzgerald, said, "Careful with the knee."
Yeah.
And I rewound this and watched it like 10 times. I was just like, because he was basically in the same defensive, like crouch position as he was when he got hit with the knee that stopped the fight. So he's got his arm and his hand like kind of over his head. But yeah, Anders totally knees him in the head. And Herb Dean just didn't call it. I guess he was maybe out of position to see it, but maybe he thought he got him in the body. But I want to talk about this because there's been a lot of talk about refereeing lately by Anthony Smith when we talked to him, and by some other fighters. And eye pokes have been a big problem. We'll get to that. But I mean, what do you think about this? Two fights in a row.
Yeah, and totally different outcome too, right?
Yeah, right. That's the thing. There's no consistency in how they handle these situations. Every time it's like the first time it's ever happened. They're just like, I don't know what to do here. Someone got
Yeah.
illegally struck. What do
Yeah.
we do here? Well, let's
If,
talk to the doctor. Let's talk to
yeah,
the.
it feels like you're kind of rolling the dice when it comes to who is reffing them.
Yeah.
Because this time it was Herb Dean. I don't know. I don't know how they make the call if there's like 100%, because as you said, the commentators didn't know, and afterwards the commentators didn't know why the outcome was like that. It's like like if they do eeny meeny miny mo, I don't know, what do you call it when you just let's go with the no contest or DQ or whatever.
Right. So this was the Eric Anders fight. It was ruled a no contest. And typically they say the distinction they're making is that if the foul is unintentional, then it's a no contest. And if it's intentional, then it's a disqualification. However, given that we saw Eric Anders throw multiple illegal knees over the course of about a minute, I don't know how you can say that this should have been a disqualification. Clearly it was intentional.
Yeah.
Like there's no difference. Like maybe it didn't land as hard as Jan's knee. Like they weren't they were up against the cage. They weren't standing in the middle of the octagon. So it wasn't maybe as visible, but it was clearly intentional. And by intentional, I mean, like he meant to throw a knee, it wasn't
and you could see it. You could see like a couple of times that he was like hesitating to throw it. And I said to my husband, like, what's he doing? Why? I mean, it looked weird that he was like on his way to throw it, like at least a couple of times.
It's almost as if the fighters don't understand that it's not just like sometimes the commentators make a big deal about the hand being on the ground, but he had a knee on the ground. And that's really, if you have a knee on the ground, you're a downed fighter. If he was crouching and he was on his feet and had a hand on the ground, then as soon as his hand comes up, you can knee him in the face. But with a knee on the ground, which is obvious, and you can see that, there should be no question. You shouldn't be like waiting to throw a knee because you can't. So
there shouldn't be a question. I mean, and this was an obvious, I think. It was there was no question about this. Should have been a DQ for sure.
And with the refereeing, like the rules in MMA are so much based on boxing to the extent that they can be. The thing about boxing, though, if a guy is hurt or fouled, and so I feel like in most sports, when a foul is committed, the first thing that happens is the person who commits the foul is punished. Like they assess some sort of a punishment. They'll say, in soccer, yellow card, red card. In boxing, they'll take a point or whatever. I feel like the first thing you should do after you stop the action is you go to the other fighter, the fighter who committed the foul, and you take a point. Or I would take 2 points. I would say, hard poke to the eye or a hard, maybe not a grunt shot because they wear a cup and usually they can recover okay from that. But like an illegal knee to the head, a strong poke to the eye, something that can really change the outcome of the fight, take 2 points immediately. Like basically the fighter who commits the foul loses the round. I think that's how it should be. And then after that, if the other fighter maybe can't continue right away, then maybe you bring the doctor in and say, okay, do we need to stop this? In which case, this is a matter of just losing 2 points. Now the fight's just going to be over and it's going to be a disqualification. To me,
I don't know either. I mean, it's been so much talk about faking eye pokes also. How do you get this right?
Well,
because it should. There's this thing also with. I mean, if I know that if you eye poke me, they take 2 points away from you. Maybe, just maybe, there's a risk of people starting to get eye poked a lot. I don't know. This is just when it comes to eye pokes, because they talk about that a lot sometimes, that it wasn't an eye poke, it was a punch.
That's a fair point. And we have seen that, and I would think that like, because we have instant replay, that would be, I don't like having to stop the fight for instant replay, but, maybe it should be the opposite too, of like, if you claim you got eye poked and you didn't, you lose a point. I don't know. But certainly it's like we have the technology to keep guys from faking that stuff and getting away with it. So But
yeah, we do. There's more cameras, and I mean, a lot more close than soccer or any other sport. I mean, the cameras are all up in their faces. So
yeah, I think the point here, and the point that Anthony Smith was making, we talked to him last week, was that when a foul occurs, this shouldn't be on the injured fighter. You know, we shouldn't be talking to him, or the ref shouldn't be talking to him about what happens next. The ref should, immediately deduct points from the fighter who committed the foul, should stop the fight, bring the doctor in, and, make an assessment of whether to stop the fight or not.
yeah, and certainly when it comes to like illegal knees, because they are not hard to assess.
Right.
It's not as hard as an eye poke.
Yeah, and I did like that the doctor in the Anders fight, when he went up to Stewart, he sort of checked his motor functions a little bit. He was like checking like how well he could walk. Did he seem, steady on his feet? But the thing is, like, in boxing, like, the referees have protocol for that. Like, if a fighter is injured, the referee goes up to him and like he'll put resistance on his hands. Like, this is sort of basic physical therapy stuff. Like seeing, because if you're holding up your hands, and granted, these are big, strong men, and if a ref can, like, push their hands back or something, it shows that like their brain is not communicating properly to their limbs. And so obviously the fight shouldn't continue. Or, you can do, just kind of a motion test with their eyes. Can they follow your finger? Stuff like that. Like, these are very basic things that people know, even in like high school sports. A lot of coaches know this. So the fact that the refs in the UFC don't do this, that they just walk over to the fighters and start talking to them, and like not even asking good questions, and not doing like any motor function assessment.
Yeah, and random questions. I feel different refs, different questions.
Right. Every other sport in the world, there's protocol for checking if someone is concussed, and for some reason the UFC hasn't figured this out. The refs don't know how to do it, and even the doctors don't seem to be very good at it sometimes. I thought the one in the Anders fight was a little bit better, but that's got to change. It should be very straightforward, and I'm just tired of them looking unprofessional. Fouls happen, mistakes are going to happen, but let's figure out a more professional way to deal with this. And I haven't heard the UFC comment about it either. Like, I can't believe, like, Dana White's certainly one who's willing to criticize the refs.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why he's not talking about this, because it's important.
Yeah, very strange.
I did think it was funny that apparently last week, after the Aljo Peter Yan fight, Eric Anders tweeted, "Yan playing by Pride rules," which Pride, the Japanese MMA organization, you could soccer kick guys on the ground. You could, there were almost no rules. And so he gave his tweet kind of bashing Peter Yan, and then he did the exact same thing in his
and over and over.
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
But also, the last thing I wanted to mention on this was, this is not the first time. This is not a new thing, basically. I mean, we all talked about the situation with John Jones almost getting DQ'd against Anthony Smith in his title fight. One that doesn't get talked about as much, which was even longer ago, was the second time Chael Sonnen fought Anderson Silva for the title.
Yeah.
Chael, it was after the first round, looking like a repeat of their first fight, where Chael Sonnen was taking Anderson Silva down, controlling him on the ground, doing a lot of ground and pound. And then in the second round, Anderson Silva does what he always does, where Chael threw a combination. Anderson Silva just slipped out of the way. Chael lost his footing and fell down. And Anderson Silva, who is just pissed because nobody can talk shit like Chael Sonnen, he threw almost like a flying knee into Chael's chest, and I think a little bit his face, while he was sitting on the ground. And I found this old video where sometimes they do kind of a mic'd up with one of the fighters watching the fight and turn that into a YouTube video later. So they actually had Michael Bisping mic'd up as a fighter watching this fight, and he's sitting there watching this fight in Brazil next to Ronda Rousey. And so he's giving some commentary as the fight's going on. And they show his reaction right after Silva throws that knee. You see both him and Rousey jump up and start screaming, "That was an illegal blow. That was an illegal blow." Like 20 times. They're just like, "That was illegal," like losing their minds. And like everybody was just like, "That was illegal." And they didn't stop it. And that knee basically ended the fight and gave Silva the title again. Yeah. So this is not a new thing. This is a long, ongoing problem. So there needs to be a better way to deal with it.
Yeah, and they've got massive criticism now, I think. But I mean, as you said, we don't know if it helps, because we never get we don't hear what the UFC has to say about this.
Yeah. which is unfortunate. I hope there's at least some conversation, behind the scenes that they're, not announcing to the public, because definitely a problem. But we should also talk about your lock of the night, because she had an excellent performance.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about Angela Hill.
What can I say? I don't know if there's I don't have any notes on it. And what can I say? She totally, as I predicted, dominated Ashley Yoder, right?
Yeah.
In every way possible, I think.
Her striking was very sharp. She looked great, as she should have. I mean, we felt like Yoder was going to be a little outmatched, and she was. And this will probably propel Angela Hill back up to fighting some more of the top people in the division. And, I don't know if she'll ever be able to be consistently a top 5 fighter in the division, but she looked good. She's always a fun fighter. So it's nice to see her have success.
She's always entertaining to watch. And I don't know. Yeah, great luck of the night. Applause to me.
Yeah.
No, but it was actually it was a dominant performance, and I think great. But I don't think Ashley Yoder looked that good either. I don't know if it was Angela Hill being very, very good or Ashley Yoder being not so good. Probably a combination of the two.
Yeah. Hill was always one step ahead, so it wasn't very competitive. And it also, my lock of the night was also not competitive, because Dan Ige, excuse me, I've been pronouncing it wrong. Dan 50K Ige, 150K, knocked Gavin the Governor Tucker out almost immediately. What was it, like 20, 30 seconds?
Imagine if you would have predicted that.
Yeah, that would have been good.
The 22-second knockout.
I mean, Ige's not a knockout artist, so that was kind of a new thing for him, but he looked
Gavin
fantastic.
Tucker, I think he's never been finished.
Yeah, Tucker is normally the knockout artist. Tonight, Ige knocked him out, got his 50K. Good for him. Looked phenomenal. And
now we can't shit on that nickname anymore either.
No, we can't. He lived up to it. And I think he's lived up to it before, but it's sort of funny.
And what a way to return from a tough defeat against Calvin Kattar for Dan Ige.
Yeah.
That's the way to return from a very tough defeat.
I swear I'm putting money on our block in the nights this next week, because you're on a 5-fight winning streak. I'm on a 3-fight winning streak.
3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I could, although I've been on a 6-fight winning streak if it wasn't for my cowboy being pushed.
Yeah.
Not good.
Well, that's fine. You get 6 this week.
Nah, this is my. You think so? Oh, this one is so hard.
It is hard.
So, do you have anything else you want to talk about on the Edwards versus Muhammad? We're still there.
Yeah, let's just mention Misha Serkinov versus Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann came out and just knocked Serkinov out in no time flat.
Misha Serkinov actually has a new nickname now. I've given him one.
What's his nickname now?
Misha Bad Game Plan Serkinov.
Whoa. How would you?
What was up with that game plan? I remember last week I said that Serkinov has all of his 5 wins since 2016 has come by submission. But he's so inconsistent. That was my one and my biggest point in this discussion, and he showed that, I think, this time.
You didn't like his game plan of walking forward and getting punched in the face. And
I mean, God, his game plan, and he talked about it before the fight too. And I mean, it's obvious he wanted to get this one to the ground, and of course, rightly so. Yeah. But what does he do? I mean, he charges into the fight, guns blazing. No, it was just. I think that was super, super unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't have happened. Why? Why would you do that against Ryan Spann? Superman Spann.
Well, you picked Spann to win, so not all bad from your perspective. And Spann looked phenomenal. My God, his arms are longer than my future. I mean, that man, when he throws a punch, it's like coming from Jupiter and just building up speed the whole way. Yeah.
Good job by Ryan Spann, but not so good.
Yeah.
Misha Serkinov. Not a great game plan to go ahead and do that.
I'm impressed because Spann throws really straight punches.
Yeah.
And his arms are so long. I mean, his arms look as long as John Jones when he's throwing those straight punches. And with a lot of power. So I'm really curious to see. I feel like Span's been kind of like hovering just outside the top 10, like fighting those levels of guys for a long time. I think Serkinov was a little bit of a step up for him, but I think, I'd like to see him fight somebody in the top 10 because he looks scary a lot of times.
I think he's overrated though.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's just not, I don't know.
He's not as athletic, I think, as the top 10 guys. I think there's a pretty easy way to beat Ryan Spann. We should actually talk to Anthony Smith about it, since he called out the winner of Crute versus Smith.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
He did after the fight.
That would be fascinating. Yeah, I would love to see that fight, actually. I'd love to see Anthony Smith, assuming he's going to beat Ryan Crute, which we assume that he will. I'd love to see him fight Spann.
Easy win, though, for Anthony Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of assume that there's never any easy fight in the UFC. But, yeah, I guess Spann, he did lose to Johnny Walker. I can see what you're saying about him not being maybe, you said athletic. I would say maybe not as technical. I could actually see Spann, I mean, because he's a huge guy, I could see him moving up to heavyweight and having a lot of success.
Yeah,
because
agree. Is he a little bit of a one-trick pony, though?
Maybe. I mean, he's a knockout artist, but it's like he's big enough and strong enough. And I think if he goes up to heavyweight, then all of a sudden him being on the, not as maybe technical as athletic as some of the light heavyweights. Now all of a sudden he goes to heavyweight, he's going to be one of the more athletic, one of the more technical.
Yeah, I meant for the light heavyweights, a bit of a one-trick pony for that division, maybe.
Yeah, so it seems like if he moves up to heavyweight, he could actually, some of his disadvantages could maybe turn into advantages a little bit more.
Agree.
Yeah.
We'll reevaluate when he moves up.
Yeah.
Then maybe I will think differently.
Yeah. Or, wait and see in his next fight. He might look awesome. We'll see.
I don't think he'll get that fight though. The winner of Crute versus Smith. I don't think so.
I mean, if it's Smith, unless Anthony Smith really wants that fight, then it seems unlikely to happen. So
yeah, he could fight Nikita Krylov. That'd be a good one.
Yeah,
he's ranked number 9.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, easy win for my guy, for your boy, for my guy, Nikita Krylov.
The minor.
Yes, the minor.
Yeah.
Who can beat the minor? No one.
Not Ryan Spann.
So going forward, you have anything else?
Well, I feel like we need to at least mention Leon Edwards. Leon, the cursed Edwards. He's like the opposite of Max Blessed Holloway. He's Leon cursed Edwards.
The cursed.
Because, after 2 years just about of not fighting, Bilal Muhammad finally steps up on short notice for this fight. Edwards looked quite good in the first rounds. I didn't think he looked so good that you could have just said, well, based on that first round, like Leon Edwards won the fight. It's like, no, it's 1 round out of 5,
Yeah.
Like Bilal Muhammad could have done any number of things going forward, but he got one of the worst eye pokes I've ever seen. There's literally blood coming out of his eye, and they stopped the fight. And that one they did, I think, correctly make a no contest because it was clearly an accidental eye poke. He was trying to throw a kick, as he mentioned.
Yeah.
So, but what do you think? Like the big question that on everyone's mind after that was like, what's next for Muhammad? And maybe even bigger question, what's next for Leon Edwards? Because he was expecting if he gets a win here, he gets a title shot. Instead, he gets no contest. So he's really in no man's lands. Do you think he deserves a title shot? Because that's who he's asking for. Or
I will wait to answer this until the Bra eller Anus thing. I'm going to let you answer it first.
Okay. All right. Fair.
No, but very unfortunate and very anticlimactic. It was like, okay. That was just unfortunate for both guys, of course.
Very unfortunate for both. Although weirdly, maybe not weirdly, I was most upset for Muhammad because here, he takes a fight on short notice. He did that thing that you always want to see fighters do of just like taking the opportunity when it's there. And he kind of got screwed. So I hope that even if he doesn't get the rematch with Edwards, I hope that they give him another top level fight. because I think that's
maybe it would benefit him. You never know. Maybe it would benefit him to get someone else.
I think
I don't know who though, because they are all killers.
They are all killers,
that
but
division. I mean, if you gave him Stephen Thompson, would it help? I don't think so.
Well, they're talking about Leon Edwards and fans. I don't know if anybody outside of fans, but a lot of fans are talking about Leon Edwards versus Wonder Boy for a title eliminator fight, or a title contender eliminator fight. So whoever wins versus Leon Edwards and Wonder Boy would then fight Usman for the title.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I do too, and I think it makes sense. Like, people were talking about Wonder Boy because he's one of the few guys. I think he might be the only guy in the top 5 or top 6 who hasn't already fought Usman. So that would be interesting.
Yeah. Where are we?
Do you want to talk about news before we talk about this? We talk about next week's card?
You can go ahead and choose.
Okay.
Bra eller anus or news?
You know what? Since you sort of
Flip
teased me, you sort of teased me with the Edwards. Let's go with bra eller anus.
Okay then. Bra eller anus? Leon Edwards asking for a title shot after the eye poke. No contest last weekend.
Honest.
Yes. Very honest.
I don't know.
Bra eller anus? I have 2 actually.
Yeah.
Just bra eller anus? New gloves in the UFC to prevent eye pokes.
Bra.
Bra.
Yeah.
Trevor Whitman designed.
Never gonna happen, because the UFC's lawyers suck and they want the patent for it, and Whitman's never gonna give them the patent.
Yes, never gonna happen. But would be very, very good though.
It'd be amazing. Yeah, fighters love those gloves. I'd love to see it. Like, there's no question. But
so no title shot for Leon Edwards. We agree on that.
We do, but it's weird because he's deserved that title shot for, you could argue, for a little while. And so you could make the argument maybe that, like, this fight didn't really, as long as he didn't lose this fight, it didn't really matter as far as like his title opportunity. I could see that argument too. But, bottom line, it's like, dude just needs to fight. Like, don't you want to get paid? I don't understand why.
Yeah, but I mean, fighters should fight, and they should have that fighting mentality. I think that's what makes fan favorites and all those kinds of things. And I don't necessarily think that asking for a title shot after this and after being in there for one round for 2 years. Yeah. I don't think it doesn't sit well with me.
Is Leon Edwards a little unlikable? Like, is it a little hard to like him as a fan? Because
not unlikable, but I don't know if it feels like maybe it's a little bit boring, maybe.
Yeah, it's just weird because, like, he always has this narrative of like, oh, I can't get a fight because everyone's scared to fight me. But I've also heard rumors that he's turned down certain fights. Like,
so just fight whoever if you want to fight.
Right. It's like, if it's an easy win, fine. It's easy money. Take it.
Yeah, I'm sure there are loads of guys who would fight Leon Edwards. I mean, because he's ranked number 3, and I mean everyone wants to get up there. I mean, in the top 5. So of course there are guys in the that division who would fight Leon Edwards. I mean, Neil Magny, he would. He would.
Yeah. So I guess the main thing, like, we agree that probably the titles is not next for Leon Edwards, but more than that, I think we agree that he just needs to fight somebody again as soon as possible. Just get back in there, man.
It doesn't really matter who, I think, as long as he comes out there with a great performance. I think it doesn't really matter who the opponent is, because they are all great in the top 10 welterweight division. So it doesn't really matter. But I mean, the top 5 welterweights, they don't really fight, do they?
It doesn't feel like it. No, it really doesn't.
It doesn't. I mean, especially not Masvidal or Colby Covington, and Leon Edwards to an extent, I think.
I mean, I'd have to look at their recent records. It feels like twice a year, maybe.
Tops.
Yeah, which is not a lot. It's a bit odd, but yeah. I mean, it feels like that division more than any other division they're all just waiting and trying to get the money fight, like trying to call their shot.
I know, it's boring.
It is.
Boring.
It is boring. And also I don't understand, because as far as I know, unless you're the champ, you don't make any extra money based on who you fight.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So it's like, why are you trying to get this high profile, like money fight? Who cares? Just go.
I don't know. They're just trying to become stars, I think. And I don't know if they need an eye opener, but that's not the way it works. Either you have that star quality like Kevin Holland does, and he's not ranked. Where is he? He's ranked
maybe just outside the top 10.
Tell me.
I'm not sure. I don't know. But it reminds me a little bit of like when Donald Cowboy,
number 10.
Okay, so just inside the top 10 now. It reminds me of when Donald Cowboy Cerrone fought Conor McGregor, and everybody, all the fans, and even the MMA journalists were like, "Oh, Cowboy, you're going to get rich off this fight." I'm like, based off what? Like, do you think they rewrote his contract for this fight and he's getting pay-per-view points now? Like, there's no way they were giving him pay-per-view points. Like, the UFC doesn't do that with anybody pretty much except champs. So, I mean, maybe title challengers sometimes. I don't know. But, I mean, Cowboy even said himself, he's like, people are talking about me getting rich off this fight. He's like, I'm not making, whatever, 10 figures or something crazy. He's like, so I think there's a big misconception. And what's bizarre to me is it's not just fans. It seems to be also journalists don't know, if you can call them journalists, people who go to the press conferences and ask questions, whatever those are. They don't seem to know how the UFC does business, which is bizarre.
Yeah, and it's like I said, either you have that star quality or you don't, or you work your way up there. Like for example, Jan Blachowicz. And I mean, he's lost a lot in the UFC, and he's just a likable guy. And it's taken him a while, but now he's up there with all the great ones, and a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah. And to be fair, he hasn't lost much lately. What is he, 9-1 in his last 10 fights or something?
Yeah. But before that, I mean, so I mean, it took a while, but he had to go in there and fight, just not sit behind a computer screen and whine.
Right. Well, and it only takes, you only really need that one big win streak in your career as a fighter to really, get paid, make your name in the sport. That's all it really takes. If you can put together, a streak of like 10 or 15 really good performances, they don't even all have to be wins, but just mostly wins, and capitalize on those, then you can do a lot with that.
Yeah, or have a really great nickname.
For example,
just have Cowboy as a nickname.
Yeah, Cowboy always works.
Win in formula. Yeah, always works.
When in doubt. Okay, so I've got one bra eller honest for you. Dana White should bet $1 million on Ben Askren to beat Jake Paul in their boxing match.
Bra. Of course.
Yeah. Take Dana White's money.
Yes. Bra, of course. That's, I mean, I don't know if there's anything honest about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if he wins.
It's funny. I don't.
He doesn't need the money.
Yeah, and he seems, I mean, Dana White might have a bit of a gambling issue. I mean, he can afford it. It'd be interesting. I don't know if he actually would or if he's just talking shit. I kind of think he's just talking shit, but it'd be
maybe. I want to see proof. I want to see proof.
I want to see that betting slip for sure.
So how about the Brunson versus Holland? You have any goodies in there?
I mean, what's interesting is that even though Brunson has been in the UFC for way, way longer, and he's fought all the top guys really in his division. He's fought, let's see, he lost Israel Adesanya, Jacare Souza. He beat Lyoto Machida, lost Anderson Silva, Robert Whittaker, beat Uriah Hall, beat Lorenz Larkin, lost to Yoel Romero.
He's only lost to the top of the top.
Yeah, but he's fought the top of the top, and that's the difference between him and Holland, because their records are very similar. Like their overall pro experience, Brunson is 21-7, Holland is 21-5. So much closer than you would think in terms of pro fight experience. But Brunson has way more in the UFC and has fought way more of the top guys in the UFC. What do you think the difference is in this fight, and who do you think wins?
I think the biggest difference is Brunson is so easy to overlook. I think that's the biggest difference. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Kind of good wins. Edmund Shabazian, Ian Heinisch, and Elias Theodoru.
Yep.
If that's the way you pronounce it. I think it's easy to overlook Brunson. I think that he can definitely win this fight. Holland, as we all know, fought and won 5 times in 2020. I mean, the confidence level there is over. What do you say? Over the
moon.
Over the moon, or how do you say it? Over the roof? Above the roof? On top of the roof? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know if that's the thing.
Right. Okay. No, but I'm just making my own, up my own expressions.
Yeah, that works.
Like you guys do.
That's true.
The over the roof is the new one.
Being very American now.
Being very American. No, but I think Derek Brunson has the ability to beat Kevin Holland, but I'm picking Kevin Holland by 2nd round TKO here.
Yeah,
I'm a little. I hate making these picks when you go with the hype guy, but I just have to do it now.
Yeah, I think the thing that Holland's got is he seems a bit more explosive than Brunson. Brunson's very smart, very technical. I mean, his last one especially, I felt like was a great win. Edmund Shabazian is a fantastic striker. He's a killer. That was a very good win. But Holland's, like you said, his confidence is over the roof right now, and he is just
above the roof.
Above the roof.
Did I say above the roof? Great.
Yeah, this will be a very like kind of a Johnny Walker moment. Like, is he going to be a Johnny Walker where like he runs up against the veteran Brunson and loses, or is he for real? So this is going to be really a test fight and a signature win for him if he can get it done. But I would probably pick Holland as well, because I think he's very explosive and looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
then we have
yep.
Yeah, this is we did the main event first.
That's okay. That's fine.
We should have done the Gregor Gillespie versus Brad Riddell.
Well, let's
say a few words.
Yeah, the co-main. So this is actually in this matchup is my lock of the night and the Nopus nickname of the night. So I'll start with the Nopus nickname. We have Gregor Gillespie, who, interesting case here, he hasn't fought since 2019. His last fight was that spectacular loss to Kevin Lee, where Kevin Lee took him out with a head kick. Previously, Gillespie was 13-0, was looking like a monster, especially with his wrestling. But Kevin Lee also has fantastic wrestling and just outstruck him in that one. And now he's fighting Brad Quake Riddell, who, if I'm getting this right, is from the same camp as Israel Adesanya, and is, I believe, 9-1. And they both, they haven't fought like the top guys in the division yet. So Gillespie's got a few more fights under his belts. Personally, I think Gillespie takes this just through dominant wrestling. I think he's able to take control of this fight. And Riddell, in the UFC, all of his fights have been wins, but they've all gone to decision. And so he's not a knockout artist. And I think if you're not a knockout artist, I don't think he's going to knock Gillespie out. And I don't think his striking is going to be enough to stop Gillespie from taking him down. So I think Gillespie takes this. Gillespie is my lock of the night. And my Nopus nickname is Brad Quake Riddell, because what is Quake? Like, how is that a nickname? That's not even a full word. That's like half of earthquake.
Yeah, it's not an American word.
What is it?
That doesn't mean that it's a
what's it mean in Kiwi?
Foreign word.
Yeah. Quake.
I don't know. Maybe it's just a name.
Yeah.
Quakey. I don't know. But I'm picking Brad Riddell by decision. So
there's no way. There's no way this goes.
I'm doing it.
Really?
Yes. I think that Gregor Gillespie's head is maybe I don't know. I don't know if that Kevin Lee loss has fucked with his head a little bit. So Brad Riddell by decision. So I'm looking to make a huge win.
All right.
Luck of the night here.
Well, this is the first time we've had a lock of the night face off where your lock of the night was the direct opposite of mine. And so one of us is going to lose.
But have you heard my lock of the night?
Oh, sorry. That Riddell's not your lock of the night. You're just picking him.
Riddell is just my pick.
All right.
Yes.
That's fine.
But the Nopus nickname though, I don't know how you didn't see this.
Okay. What
Julia Raging Panda Avila. Avila. How do you pronounce that? It's a Brazilian name. Avila or Avila? Never mind.
Portuguese is rusty.
Yeah. Raging Panda.
I love it.
I mean, I hate all the nicknames where animals comes into this. The monkeys and the spider monkeys and I don't know.
The Kung Fu monkeys.
What is it? Have you ever seen a raging panda?
Everything's fine.
I have to Google this raging panda.
You don't want to see a raging panda. You want pandas to be cute and cuddly and doing somersaults down hills and
it's impossible. It's an impossible nickname. It contradicts itself. Raging panda doesn't exist. just
I get it.
Quake.
I get it. Yeah. Fair play. That's a good Nopus nickname.
Fair play. Moving on.
Yeah. One question I want to ask you though, in reference to Gillespie versus Riddell, is what is the best fighting style in MMA? Because this is very much like a styles makes fight sort of matchup. You've got a wrestler versus a striker here. And I feel like what I've heard argued in the past is that when you've got a dominant wrestler versus a dominant striker, even though the striking starts in the feet, the wrestler can control where the fight goes. And that's why wrestling tends to be great striking, as we saw with Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. You had a much bigger man who was able to take down the great striker and control him.
Yes.
So
although Jan Blachowicz hasn't really been relying on that before.
And he was outstriking Adesanya.
Yes. Not according to Joe Rogan, though.
Oh, my God. Daniel Cormier, people were calling out Daniel Cormier on Twitter for biased commentary.
Yeah.
And he was like, what did he say? He basically said that he didn't think it was biased. But then he kind of contradicted himself. I don't know. It was just, it's like, how can
mess.
How can you watch that fight back and listen to, I mean, he basically defended himself by saying like, I didn't think it was biased because Jan was biting on the feint. He said Jan was biting on the feints because he wasn't capitalizing. I'm like, that's the whole point.
Yeah,
that's why it was
the
biased.
Point we were making.
It's like you're missing the whole point, DC. The whole point is that if Izzy's not capitalizing on his feints, then his feints are useless. And the reason you bite on a feint is because a feint could be a legitimate strike. So of course you should be like moving out of the way, or like I don't understand the criticism.
Yeah, talk about contradictory or contradict. How do you say it?
It's very bizarre. I'm going to go on Helwani in DC and hash this out with DC because I don't think he understands the fans' criticism.
Do it. Calling him out.
Yeah, I've got his number, so I'll hit him up. He and I were on a flight once, and not every time, but there've been a few UFC fighters who I've seen in person. And I'm just like DC is looks like 5'10", maybe like 5'11", and he's just like, he's as broad as he is tall, just like built like a tank. I'm like, man, how do you fight a heavyweight? Like, you are not a tall person. It's amazing.
He's shorter than me.
Yeah. Or like Chuck Liddell too. I was surprised. Not a big dude, but
yeah, it's like a little SpongeBob. Or big SpongeBob. A big SpongeBob.
I won't tell DC you said that.
Don't. No, I don't know. To answer your question, God, I don't know. I think it's a non-question. I can't answer that. It's just to be well-rounded is the whole point of MMA.
Yep, you're right.
But I don't know if you can rely on one thing more than another. I'm trying to look at the rankings here, and we all like trying to say something smart. But
no,
I don't know. What does John Jones do? Look at that, and then you'll have the answer.
John Jones is extremely well-rounded, so I think I think your answer is correct. The last fight I want to mention, because Tai Tuivasa is on this card, so anytime there's an Australian, or wait, is he an Australian or a Kiwi? He's an Australian, yeah. Anytime there's somebody who does shoeies, we should at least mention them. And
Yes.
Tai Tuivasa has at times looked like a really up and coming contender at heavyweight, and then other times he doesn't look so great. He's had
kind of
problems.
Inconsistent. Also.
Yeah, I think he's had cardio issues, and he's just not as technical as a Junior Dos Santos or some of the other guys that he's fought. So it's like when he gets in those wars where it's just like they're able to land strikes a lot more efficiently and with more power than him.
Yeah.
He gets in trouble because he just likes to go in there and swing. So
this is a tough matchup, I think, and very tough to make a pick here. And I'm not even gonna try, but Tai Tuivasa is very entertaining. I mean, he's that kind of a guy who I don't think there's anyone who dislikes Tai Tuivasa, fighters or fans.
Yeah, he's fun.
Yeah.
Well, and he's fighting, I may say this wrong, Don'Tale Mayes, who I don't believe I've seen him fight. Certainly looks like a big, strong guy. His nickname is Kong. And like you said...
Also a little nopey.
Maybe, or maybe it works. We'll see. I think I'm going to reserve judgment until I see the fight. But
the only one who can use an animal as their nickname is Darren Till.
The gorilla?
He has the copyright of that. Yes.
Fair enough.
He's the only one who can do it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I would tend to lean towards Tuivasa in this fight based on experience. He's fought a lot of higher ranked fighters in his career. But when you're talking about two guys who are this big and this strong, it's probably going to be a slugfest. And with heavyweight, you just never know. It only takes one shot. So, yeah, I would wouldn't know how to pick this.
Yeah, don't make a heavyweight your luck of the night.
Yeah.
It can be a big mistake.
Yeah.
So my luck of the night, you haven't even asked. So I have to bring it up.
I'm sorry. Who is your luck of the night?
My luck of the night is, of course, on the prelims as usual, since I like a challenge. No, it's not. I'm just kidding. Just seeing if you're there.
Yeah.
My luck of the night is Adrian Yanez.
Oh. Why?
Bantamweight. Just because of the simple fact that I saw him on Dana White Contender Series, and he looks great. And he's had one fight in the UFC that was last October. It was a knockout. And you don't see him. Kind of a small guy, but I mean, very exciting to watch. And certainly some knockout power there. So, and he looked great on the Contender Series. And I was kind of rooting for this guy. So,
yeah,
I feel like I do these wild picks sometimes. So it's...
Yeah, you don't always necessarily see a lot of knockouts at bantamweight. So when you do, it makes you pay attention for sure.
He's fighting Gustavo Lopez, though, who's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So it's a risky one for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to bring up a couple items of news here because Aljamain Sterling, in his controversial fight against Jan, he had a different corner. He'd been training with Eric Nixick of Extreme Couture. I assume training his striking for, battling Jan, who's a very technical striker. Yes. And so Matt, Serra, and Ray Longo had been in Aljamain's corner forever. And for this fight, Matt Serra got replaced by Eric Nixick. And the thing that I felt like was problematic was that Sterling didn't tell Matt Serra that he was getting replaced. And so it came out, Matt Serra talked about it in his podcast last week. And I really empathize with Serra because like him and Longo helped Sterling get to that title fight.
Yeah.
And it just seems like a bit of a betrayal that you wouldn't bring the person, that you wouldn't bring the person who has been on that journey with you the whole way. And two, that you just wouldn't, have the courage or the respect to tell them yourself if you were just like, hey, I did this camp with this striking coach. I feel like I really need him in there so he can like give me, the coaching and like give me the signals when I'm in there striking. I think there's a very reasonable argument for why he would bring Eric Nixick over Matt Serra in this fight. But, at least have the courtesy as a friend to just tell Serra that. I think that I'm not down on Aljo at all for how that fight ended, for how it went down. It was what it was. He didn't throw the illegal knee. Jan did. But that was the one, and I really like Aljo, and I've really loved watching his fights in the past and hearing Matt Serra scream in his corner, screaming Aljo, Aljo.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just very sad because Matt Serra was like, I think I'm going to retire from cornering now. And you could tell that that's just came from him like feeling hurt about this situation. And I think it's totally understandable, but I think it's sad. I think, I hope that Sterling reaches out to him and tries to, apologize and sort that out because,
and also because we want to see Matt Serra in there somehow, right?
Yeah, I would love to. And, even if he doesn't, I just think that was obviously an important relationship for both of them. So it would be a shame to,
Yeah, as entertaining as it is to see Aljo fight, it's just as entertaining to watch Matt Serra in the corner, right?
He's great, and I'm so glad he's got a podcast. But yeah, it would be sad if that's the last time, if he's done cornering because of something that was. Or
else they'll just have to convince Ally Quinta to take a fight soon because it's been years.
Yeah, well,
you hear me, Al?
Raging Al is selling houses. He's doing his real estate thing. Probably, I don't know for sure, but I know he's got that on the side too. So good for him. I hope he's living his best life. But we do miss Raging Al.
And he's got great hair also.
Yeah,
great hair.
Oh man,
not so great nickname, but great hair.
Yeah, fair. Do you remember him fighting Kevin Lee? That was a great fight.
That was a great fight.
Because at the end of it,
that was more than a great fight.
Yeah, he's popping him in the face and screaming, "Same Al, same Al," just like
and he was just totally crazy. Looked totally crazy in there. That was a great one.
I love him, and I love when he stepped up against Khabib, which, based on the rankings, that was kind of a bullshit fight for Khabib to get the undisputed title. Mm-hmm. But Ally Quinta fought his ass off in that fight, and maybe Khabib could have ended it earlier. It seemed like he sort of had. Mm-hmm. It seemed like he sort of wanted to put on a show and do 5 rounds in that fight, based on how quickly he finished Gaethje and Poirier. But regardless, Ally Quinta is just always a fun fighter. Like I love that.
What else have they got in the Serra Longo team that we can cheer, that we can pull for, that we can root for?
All of them. Just throw out a name. Well, Chris Weidman obviously is a big one. He hasn't fought in a little bit, and and he's had some tough knockouts lately. I think some people have been calling for him to consider retirements, but he's not old, so
it's a little chinny though.
A little bit, I don't know. It's tough. These things happen in fighting.
It's like him and Rook Lockhold. Do you know that guy, Rook Lockhold?
Yeah, I do. He's a great fighter, middleweight champion.
Also a little bit chinny.
Yeah,
maybe.
He's been working with Bisping's old coach, working on his striking. So I'm curious.
He's a model. Is he a model still?
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I don't think his face has been messed up that badly, but he's been knocked out viciously, and I just wonder why go back at this point in his career? I mean, I think in his prime, he was one of the best at that weight class. But at this point, it's like, if you're just going to be out there like fighting like Jan Blachowicz and whoever else, like, why? I don't know.
I just want to maul people. That's like, is that Habib's most famous quote?
Oh, yes.
I just want to maul people.
I love that one, but there's so many. This is number one bullshit. He has so many great quotes. Send me a location. Let's talk now.
I'm gonna smash your boy.
I'm gonna smash your boy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe he's retired. We can do this. We can do the Habib thing in another episode. But I can't believe he's retired. And and he's eating some cake also.
Oh, he's eating all the tiramisu. All the tiramisu. Yeah.
And we're not having any more tiramisu Tuesdays.
Every day is tiramisu Tuesday now.
From what's his face?
Islam
the cock guy?
Oh,
From
Tony
El
Ferguson.
Caca is not going to have any more Tiramisu Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
it's so sad. We need
yeah,
Habib in there.
I know. We've yeah, between Connor fighting once every 5 years and Khabib being gone, it's sad. The 155 division is stacked. There's still a million great fighters in there, but
Yes. But just, I mean, they're just real ones. I feel like the Michael Chandlers, all those corny
mhm.
ones, they can't replace these guys, right?
No, not with his WWE, shtick, professional wrestling
Ah,
shtick.
I know. I know.
Yeah,
Paul Felder is great though.
yeah. Paul Felder is great, but yeah, you reminded me of sort of cringy things that people do to call attention to themselves, which reminds me of, did you see Dominic Cruz's post-fight call out last week where he called
I
out
did.
Hans Molenkamp?
I
What do
did.
you,
I don't really know. I don't know if I'm a little too Swedish to know about this. But
maybe
did you see the picture of Hans Molenkamp and Dominic Cruz on that bike?
on the handlebars? Yeah, I
Oh
actually saw
God.
that when it came out. And so this is maybe a little more in my wheelhouse because Molenkamp is like a Orange County guy. And this just reminds me of sort of the grossest aspects of just like business and sometimes the way people in LA especially are in business are just like
Cloud chasing.
clout chasing, just very cringy and just like being manipulative, like just being really shitty to people. Um,
Mhm.
and I think it's telling how quickly like Angela Hill was like, yeah, I've heard the same thing from a lot of other fighters. Bisbing had a very interesting story of Molenkamp like hitting him up and like being like, we're friends, blah, blah, blah. And like Bisbing's like, no, like this is a business relationship. Like, let's just, let's don't get weird with me
So
here.
cringy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then so as soon as, and, Bisbing being Bisbing, he kept it real. And then Monster just dropped him. And I'm like, okay, this guy clearly has too much power.
Mm-hmm.
There was another story, which I thought was the most telling because he got into actual detail of a photographer who was doing a shoot for Monster independently, met Molenkamp, and then Molenkamp hired him to shoot for Monster consistently. And then Molenkamp just kind of made him into his own personal videographer slash indentured
um,
servant, which I've seen happen a lot of times in the entertainment industry is people are just like, okay, so my company is now, paying a lot of your bills. So now me as the representative of this company who you're directly answering to, I'm just going to take advantage of you and make you do whatever I want because otherwise I have the power to like take away your work, take away your livelihood, take away, what's paying your bills and feeding your family. And it's still to this day shocks me because it's so kind of inhuman to like have no empathy and to not recognize that like this is not about being friends. This is not about like, everybody else. It's not about you. This is about like we're all human beings here and we should be trying to take care of each other and not being shitty. So
hmm.
and so people like that, they're just kind of vampires. It's like I love how Bisbing talks about his journey and a lot of hard work. Obviously, people very rightly so talk about how hard Bisbing has worked as a fighter. But then Bisbing also likes to say, I've gotten very lucky because there are plenty of people who work their asses off who just don't get the breaks. They don't get the right opportunities. They don't meet the right people. And maybe they don't make the right judgment calls. And I think for Bisbing, like he's always played the long game. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to play these games with somebody who in Molenkamp, I think he recognized like this dude will just take advantage of me. And if I don't get this money from Monster, that's okay. I'm going to find better people to work with. I'm not going to let this guy leech off me. So, and I think that's part of being lucky is just having that good judgment to recognize the people in your life who are really going to help you in the long term versus the people who, yeah, they can put some money in your pocket right now, but in the end, they're going to take more than they can give you in like a fair business relationship. They're going to take advantage of it. So it's like, that's part of making your own luck in life, I think, is being able to recognize the people who are sort of like emotional or energy vampires are just going to try and steal your time and kind of abuse your trust in some way. So,
100%.
and I think the larger point here is that UFC fighters should have a union. And
so next week on Heavy Leather should fighters have a union?
I will have it all written out in legal detail, and it'll be a presentation ready to go straight to Dana White. No.
Great.
But yeah, if you just look at, I mean, people have talked about the numbers, like the percentage of UFC revenue that goes to the fighters versus other sports. And there are a lot of other things, like sponsorships have been something that used to be completely wide open. Like fighters could be sponsored by anybody. Now it's much more controlled. And it seems like fighters are much more mostly sponsored by companies who are already UFC sponsors. And they can't wear any promotional gear except for Reebok in the ring, stuff like that. And
but can you imagine though, Michael Bisping or a Cowboy Cerrone jumping up on that bike?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's interesting because like Dominic's a very strong personality. And I loved when Bisping started talking about this. And at first he was like, he like didn't want to get into the politics of it. And then he's like, yeah, I thought it was kind of silly for like Cruz to like call out this business rep when he, you know, he just won this fight. He had an opportunity to like advance himself by calling out another bantamweight contender. And then by the end of the story, once like Bisping had like told his own story, he's like, no, actually good for you, Cruz. Like this need to be talked about. Like you're the man. So I thought that was hilarious that he just changed his own mind as he was telling the story.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about those guys is they have very strong personalities and they can talk themselves into things once they think about it.
Yeah, 100%. So let's wrap this up then.
Follow our social media, like us, love us, give us applause,
adore us,
adoration.